Hi, welcome back to another gadget report. And yes, we are already in February, the second month of the year. It's going fast. And this month, I will be talking about airlines, my favorite airlines. I selected four airlines that I really like, and I decided to talk a little bit about them, about their history, because usually we book flights, we travel with them, we are used to their logos, and we are used to see their planes in the air, but sometimes we know very little about what they've done, how they started, and how they became the airlines that they are today. So expect a little bit more about airlines in this month of February. So let's go for another gadget report. Let's do this. And as I said, today I am starting my February about airlines with the history of my absolute favorite, and that is British Airways. I've flown with them for so many times. I've got lots of great memories. It's definitely one of my favorite airlines. I love it. And today I decided to pay them some respect and do them a little tribute by telling you the history of this great airline that we know today, that has a very, very long history, lots of changes along the way, and let's talk about them. Before I start, I would like to tell you all that all the information provided in this video was taken from British Airways official website. They have a page dedicated to their history, obviously for time, because of time. I won't be able to read it item by item because it would be impossible to tell the entire history of British Airways in only 10 minutes or less than 10 minutes. So I will compile what I think is the most important facts of the history of this great airline. And I have to start by saying that the first register of British Airways was in 25th of August 1919, and back then it wasn't named British Airways. It was called the Aircraft Transport and Travel Limited, so AT&T. After that, there was a period of change, and new names came along, subsidiaries, mergers. So there was different names, and if you go to British Airways page, you'll see that it will be a few decades of all these changes and things happening. But in 1974, after obviously a series of name changes and mergers between companies, more names came to light, and finally British Airways was born. In 74, as I said, is created by the merger of two airlines, the BOAC, or British Overseas Airways Corporation, and BEA, or British European Airways. So British Airways was created, and it was the result of two major changes in aviation as well. We had the introduction of the Queen of the Skies, the Boeing 747, in 1971, and then we also had the introduction of the Amazing Concorde that we all miss, the Amazing Concorde, also in 1974. So there was the need for a revamp and obviously a change in the airline, and British Airways was created and started traveling with the name British Airways. Then in the 80s, the airline went through a lot of changes, a new identity, new logo, etc., etc., and they had their long-haul flights moved to then Terminal 4. I know that because every single time I travel from Lisbon to Sydney, it was one of the terminals that I had to go to for my flight from London to Sydney. So I know that, and it was a great terminal. I have very fond memories of walking through that terminal for very long hours, I must say. And obviously I miss it. In 1997, brought a new image again, so the airline went through another image. Between these years, there was a big expansion, not only in the short haul flights, but long haul flights, and the airline started expanding to not only Europe, but across the world. And in 1997, there was another change in identity, other colors, etc., etc. And the airline also ordered Airbus fleet for their short-term or short-haul flights. Also signed with a new group. So, as you know, it is common with airlines that you have, I wouldn't call it associations, it's more that a cooperative group, and there's groups of airlines that come together, and they have all sorts of partnerships between them, especially for travelers. Your frequent flyer points may be used between them because they are all in that group. It's not always like that, but it might happen. So British Airways, and we currently have two groups. We have Star Alliance and we have One World, and British Airways signed with One World back then together with Qantas and also with American Airlines. Then in the 2000s, the airline said goodbye to the Concorde. I think it was a very sad day for aviation in 2003 after that horrible disaster in Paris. Both Air France and British Airways decided to retire their Concordes. I may do a video about the history of the Concorde in the future, because it's also aircraft that I really loved. But I never had the pleasure of flying in one, though. And obviously it was a little bit of a sad story, a dark page for British Airways and for aviation. But as you know, and aviation is all about reinventing themselves, is all about innovation, is all about pushing boundaries and moving forward. And that's what British Airways and other airlines, that's what this industry has done, and especially in the last 2 years. Then we have the new terminal is also open, the Terminal 5, and at Heathrow, and British Airways also announced its new fleet of A380s and the Dreamliners. The first long-haul flight route from from London City Airport, not Lisbon, through New York is also announced. From 2010 to the present day, there was a change again, and always changing. British Airways is in constant change. Colors, flights, expansion, always very important to mention that. The International Airlines Group, because there was a merger between British Airways and Iberia from Spain, and then this group was created, so both airlines would be run by this group. So you have the International Airlines Group, IAG, which both airlines are now affiliated with. The airline receives its Boeing 777-300ER, and the net and retires is and retires is Boeing 755, also in the 2010s, and then the Terminal 5 opens for business, and you know that, for the long haul flights. I have been in that terminal as well, and of course there was another sad page. For me, it was a sad page. It was the end of the partnership between British Airways and Qantas. That has been a very long partnership that ended in this decade as well. So you no longer get Qantas flights with your British Airways ticket, or vice versa. However, British Airways always continues moving on. And in recent years also launched these green flights with a little bit of a change in colors for those flights, for those planes. So now you'll see a light blue color, which is very nice and very refreshing. And like any other airline, sorry, in the world, they are really committed to fight climate change and to be more sustainable. So this is my little resume of British Airways history. And that's all for today. If you really like this video, please, put a like and share with your friends. As I said, if you have any suggestion of another airline that I could be talking about in my videos, please do. I will consider all airlines that I obviously would fly with. I won't consider any airlines that belong to countries where the human rights record would be very bad, or the treatment of women are not up to standard, or at least up to my standard. I feel very strongly about that, and obviously I would not support an airline that belong to a country where those atrocities happen. So, but if you have a suggestion of any other airline, of course I'll be very happy to talk about them. And of course, if you have a comment, if you like the my little history of British Airways, and as I said, there would be so many more things to talk about, because as you know, it's more than it's like a century of history, and it's very hard to resume it in less than 10 minutes. So if you have anything that you would like to add, please feel free to do so. And of course, share with your friends, because it's always important to pass it on to others and make this community even bigger. And of course, like the video and subscribe the channel with a little click on the bell, so you get a notification of another gadget report every week. I hope you like this gadget report and you are ready for another one next week. Before I go, thank you so much for watching. See you next week. Have a good one. Bye.